The neon Budweiser sign flickered in the window of the American Legion post, casting red shadows across three weathered faces. Outside Montana, snow fell silent and heavy. Inside, the television droned on about a man who died 800 years ago. Colonel Jack Morrison, 72 years old, shoulders still military straight, despite the tremor in his left hand, reached for the remote. His fingers, scarred from frostbite that never fully healed, pressed mute. The screen froze on a painted image, a man on horseback, bow-drawn eyes like winter. Genghis Khan. The name hung in the air like gun smoke. "Bullshit," Jack said. His voice carried the gravel of 1,000 commands shouted across desert winds. "They're calling him a monster, like they understand the first goddamn thing about war." Across the table, Dr. Rashid al-Hashimi looked up from his tea. 68 years old, Baghdad, born American made. His hands, professor's hands, now still remembered the weight of an M16 he carried as a translator in '91. "I watched Saddam Hussein do the same things this documentary describes," Rashid said quietly. "You defending that too, Jack?" The third man, Professor Daniel Kovacs, 70 years old, set down his book. Hungarian accent still thick after 67 years in America. His grandfather died under Soviet tank treads in Budapest, 1956. He knew something about monsters. "Gentlemen," Daniel said, "perhaps we should examine this systematically. What did Genghis Khan actually do? Let us go through it, detail by detail." Jack poured 3 fingers of whiskey. The amber liquid caught the light. "Fine, but I'm telling you right now, half of what people think they know is propaganda. Winners write history. Mongolia lost their empire, so they became the villains." "Then educate us," Rashid said. "Tell me how killing 40 million people is anything but villainy." Jack's jaw tightened. The scar on his neck faded white, now pulsed once. Highway of Death, February 1991. 2,000 vehicles burning. Bodies scattered like broken dolls. He still smelled the oil fires in his sleep. "You want the truth?" Jack said. "The truth is, Genghis Khan fought the only war that matters. The war you win. Everything else is luxury. Morality. Ethics. Those are things you get to think about when you're not bleeding out in the sand." He walked to the window. Snow accumulated on the sill. His reflection stared back, older than he remembered. "Let me tell you about a boy named Temujin." The year was 1171. The Mongolian steppes stretched endless grass and sky and nothing else. No roads, no cities, just tribes killing tribes for water, for horses, for pride. Temujin was 9 years old when his father died, poisoned by the Tatar tribe. Not in battle, not honorably, poisoned at a feast betrayed by hospitality. The boy watched his father convulse, watched him vomit blood, watched him die slowly over 3 days, while the shamans chanted and did nothing because there was nothing to do. When Yasugai finally stopped breathing, the Taichiud tribe's supposed allies made their decision. A widow and 5 children were useless mouths, dead weight. They left them in the steppe in winter. "Imagine that," Jack said to the window. 9 years old, watching your father die, then watching your entire tribe ride away, leaving you to freeze or starve. Which do you think comes first?" Rashid stayed silent. He knew about watching fathers die. His uncle disappeared by Saddam's Mukhabarat in 1982. The body came back 3 months later. What was left of it? Jack continued. Temujin's mother, Hulun, kept them alive. She dug roots, caught fish with her bare hands, ate grass when there was nothing else. And she taught her children one lesson. The only lesson that mattered on the steppe. He turned from the window. Never be weak again. 4 years passed. Temujin was 13. His older half-brother, Bektar, had grown cruel, taking food from the younger children. One day, Temujin and his full brother Kasar cornered Bektar near the river. He shot his own brother, Jack said, put an arrow through his chest, watched him bleed out in the grass. Rashid flinched. Daniel closed his book completely now. First kill, Jack Unmed. You never forget it. Mine was a Republican Guard soldier. Highway 8, February 27th, 91. He came around a burning Bradley AK up. I put 3 rounds center mass before I even thought about it. 20 milliseconds, they say. That's how long it takes your brain to decide to kill someone when your life depends on it. He sat back down, picked up his whiskey. didn't drink. Temujin was 13, and he learned what I learned at 39. What every soldier learns eventually. Violence solves problems. It's ugly. It's terrible, but it works. And when you're starving, when it's your family or theirs, you don't philosophize. You survive. The Taichio tribe heard about the murder. A boy who kills his own brother is dangerous. They came back, captured Temujin, put him in a wooden collar called a kangu, slave device, locked his head and hands in place, paraded him through camps as a warning. For months he watched how they treated prisoners, watched them starve captives slowly, watched them break men with humiliation, with pain that left no marks. He learned something there, Jack said, in that collar. He learned that fear is a weapon, sharper than any sword. You break a man's spirit, you don't need to break his body. He's already defeated. One night during a feast while his captors were drunk, Temujin smashed the guard's skull with his kanj and ran. A family named Shilan hid him, risked their own lives. That's when he learned the other lesson, Jack said. Loyalty. Absolute unbreakable loyalty. The Shilan family could have turned him in, collected a reward. They didn't. And Temujin never forgot. Years later, when he became Khan, he made the Shilan family nobles, rewarded them for decades. Because loyalty, true loyalty, was worth more than gold. But the worst was yet to come. 1884. Temujin was 22. He had a wife now, Berta. Beautiful, strong, his equal in every way. The Merkit tribe, seeking revenge for an old insult, raided his camp. They took her. For 9 months she was gone. Jack's voice dropped. 9 months. You understand what that means. What happens to a captured woman in tribal warfare? Rashid understood. He remembered the Yazidi women, taken by ISIS, sold in markets, raped until they broke. Some of them never came back even after they were freed. Part of them died in captivity. Temujin assembled an army, Jack said, called in every favor, made alliances with Togrul Khan, with Jamuka, his blood brother, and he rode to war. They found the Merkit camp at dawn. No warning, no mercy. Temujin's forces slaughtered every fighting man. The old, the young, it didn't matter. If you could hold a weapon, you died. They found Borta in a tent, pregnant. 9 months later, she gave birth, Jack said. A boy, named him Jachi, which means guest. Think about that. His firstborn son, and he named him Guest. Because he never knew for certain if the boy was his blood or the blood of his enemies. Jack finally drank. The whiskey burned. That's what made him. Not the hunger, not the slavery, that. The woman he loved violated. His son a question mark for the rest of his life. That's when Temujin died and someone else was born. Someone who understood that power is the only protection. That mercy is a luxury for the strong. And if you want to be strong, truly strong, you burn the world down until no one dares touch what's yours. 20 years passed. Temujin unified the Mongol tribes, not through diplomacy, through calculated brutality. The Tatars who killed his father he exterminated. Every male taller than a cart axle, executed. The women and children absorbed into his own tribe. Genocide, Rashid said flatly. Survival, Jack countered. You leave enemy sons alive, they grow up seeking revenge. You kill the warriors, you end the cycle. It's math. Brutal math, but math. In 1206, the tribes gathered at the cruelty. They proclaimed him Genghis Khan. Universal ruler. He wasn't the strongest, wasn't the best archer. But he understood something the others didn't. Organization, Jack said. Discipline. He created the Yasa, Mongol law code, simple rules, absolute loyalty to the Khan. Meritocracy, you rise by skill, not birth. Religious tolerance. And one more thing, he leaned forward. Psychological warfare. He understood that killing 1,000 people in one city would save him from having to kill 10,000 across 10 cities. Terror was a force multiplier. You make an example so horrible, so complete, that everyone else surrenders without a fight. Daniel spoke for the first time in 20 minutes. The Romans called it decimation. Kill every 10th man in a rebellious legion. The survivors spread the fear. Exactly, Jack said. It's not new. It's not uniquely Mongol. Every empire does it. We did it. Hiroshima, Nagasaki, 200,000 dead in 2 days. Way to avoid invading mainland Japan to save American lives. We dropped the sun on 2 cities so we wouldn't have to fight in 20. Truman made the same calculation Genghis Khan made. Rashid's teacup rattled against the saucer. Are you seriously comparing Hiroshima to what's coming next in this story? Jack met his eyes. I'm saying war is war. We dress it up in flags and anthems and just causes. But at the end, it's math. Their lives versus ours. And the man who hesitates loses. Then let me tell you what that math cost, Rashid said. He walked to the bar, poured himself something stronger than tea. 1218, the Khwarezm Empire stretched from India to the Caspian Sea, richest empire in Central Asia. Sultan Ala ad-Din Muhammad ruled from Samarkand city of blue domes and silk markets. Genghis Khan sent a trade caravan, 450 merchants, carrying gold, silver, jade, furs, a peace offering. Opened the Silk Road. Prospered together, the caravan reached Ochar border city. Governor Inalchuk, paranoid or greedy, or both, accused them of being spies. He seized the goods. Then he executed all 450 men, sent their heads back to Genghis Khan in a cart. Imagine receiving that, Jack said. 450 heads. Your peace envoys, your merchants, murdered. Genghis Khan sent 3 ambassadors, demanding the governor be handed over for justice, demanding compensation. Sultan Muhammad, instead of apologizing, instead of arresting Inalchuk, made a choice. He executed the head ambassador, shaved the beards off the other 2, a mortal insult, and sent them back. That, Jack said, was the moment. Right there, the Sultan just declared war on 100,000 Mongol cavalry, and he didn't even know it. Genghis Khan was 62 years old. He had 4 sons, Jochi the Question One, Chagatai the Enforcer, Ogadei the Diplomat, Tului the General. He called them together. The Khwarezm Empire has 400,000 soldiers, Jack said. The Mongols had 100,000, 4-to-1 odds, bad odds, suicidal odds. So what did he do? Daniel asked. He didn't just plan to win, Jack said. He planned to erase them, not defeat them, not conquer them, erase them from memory. The Mongol army split into 4 wings. Each son commanded one. They hit the Khwarezm Empire from 4 directions simultaneously. Cities fell like dominoes. Bukhara, Samarkand, Balkh. But one city resisted, Nishapur. Jack paused. This was where his defense started to crack, where the math stopped making sense. 1221, March. The Mongol general Tokuchar, Genghis Khan's son-in-law, led the assault on Nishapur. Arrow from the wall, straight through his eye, dead before he hit the ground. Genghis Khan's daughter, Tokuchar's widow, asked for one thing: command of the revenge. She was given 50,000 soldiers. They surrounded the city, Jack said. His voice changed, flatter now, like he was reading a report. Cut off every supply route, poisoned the wells outside the walls, and waited. Week 1, Biggermambun. The city had stockpiles, enough for 3 months, maybe 4. Week 4, bread prices quadrupled. Week 8, rats sold for the price of lamb. Week 12, the dogs and cats were gone. My company did a siege, Jack said. Basra 91, Iraqi Republican Guard dug in. We surrounded them, cut power water food, waited them out. 3 weeks. They surrendered. We took them as POWs, processed them, sent them to camps. He stopped. This wasn't that. Month 4, inside Nishapur, people were eating boiled leather, saddles, belts, shoes, anything that would soften enough to swallow. Children died first. Their stomachs couldn't process grass. They ate it anyway because the pain of hunger is worse than the pain of slow poisoning. Juvaini, the Persian chronicler who followed in the Mongol wake, wrote it down. Every detail. The people were forced to eat grass and the corpses of the dead. None remained to bury the bodies. The dogs feasted on the flesh of the faithful. The defenders surrendered. And here is where Jack Morrison, Lieutenant Colonel, United States Army, retired, lost his ability to defend Genghis Khan. They killed them all, he said. Every single person, men, women, children. The Mongols divided the population into groups. Each Mongol soldier was assigned 400 people. Execute them efficiently. Rashid was staring at him now. The city had over 100,000 people, Jack continued. It took them days. They beheaded some. throat cutting for others, buried some alive to save time. And when they were done, they killed the cats and dogs, so no living thing remained to tell the story. And you defend this, Rashid said. Not a question, an accusation. No, Jack said. He set down his glass. His hand shook. No, I don't. That's where the line is. That's where the soldier becomes murderer. He looked at his hands. Old hands, spotted, scarred. Highway of Death, February 91. Iraqi forces retreating from Kuwait. 2,000 vehicles on Highway 80. Tanks, trucks, buses. We got the order. Close the pocket. We hit them with everything. A-10s, Apaches, artillery. His voice cracked. It was a turkey shoot. They were running away, routed, no longer a military threat. And we just kept killing. For hours, I saw a bus, civilian bus, windows blown out, bodies inside burned so bad you couldn't tell adult from child. He wiped his face. We called it a military victory, degrading enemy capabilities. But I dream about that bus. I dream about Nishapur too now, because I understand. I understand how easy it is to cross that line. You're angry, your friend died, your son-in-law, and someone hands you an army and says, make them pay. And you do it, Rashid said. You make them pay, and then you have to live with it. Yeah, Jack whispered. Daniel poured 3 more drinks. They sat in silence. The television screen still frozen on Genghis Khan's painted face. So where does that leave us? Daniel asked. Jack straightened. Colonel again. It leaves us here. Genghis Khan was a military genius, the greatest tactical mind in history. The Yasa Code, the meritocracy, the discipline, all brilliant. He built an empire that lasted 150 years, connected east and west. The Pax Mongolica. The Silk Road flourished under his grandsons. But, Rashid prompted, but somewhere between Otrar and Nishapur, he stopped being a soldier and became something else, became the thing he was trying to protect his people from. And maybe that's always the price. Maybe you can't build an empire without sacrificing your humanity. And maybe that's why empires always fall. He stood, walked to the window again. The snow had stopped, stars visible now. I'll tell you what I think. I think Temujin, that 9-year-old boy watching his father die, that boy was human. He loved, he hurt, he was afraid. But Genghis Khan, the man who ordered Nishapur erased that man, had burned out everything soft inside him. Had to, maybe. Can't conquer the world if you flinch. Can't kill 40 million if you see them as people. Then he lost, Rashid said. He won every battle and lost the only war that matters, the war for his soul. Jack turned back. Maybe. Or maybe he won exactly what he wanted. He kept his people safe. No tribe dared touch the Mongols after Nishapur. His grandchildren ruled from Korea to Hungary. He achieved immortality. 16 million men alive today carry his DNA. Is that winning? Daniel asked. I don't know, Jack said. I'm 72 years old. I've had 50 years to think about Highway 80, and I still don't know if I'm a soldier who did his duty or a war criminal who got away with it. The 3 men sat. The clock ticked. 2 a.m. now. My turn, Rashid said. He stood. You told me about the soldier, about the tactics, about the math. Now let me tell you about the people, the ones your math erased. Rashid al-Hashimi paced the American Legion floor, his shadow elongated in the dim light, stretching across faded photographs of dead wars. Boys in uniforms, frozen in sepia, smiled from frames they would never leave. You know what the difference is between you and me, Jack? Rashid's Baghdad accent thickened when he was angry. 50 years in America could not fully erase the music of Arabic beneath his English. You get to theorize. You get to debate tactics and necessity and the price of empire. He turned, his eyes dark brown, held something Jack had seen before. In mirrors, in other soldiers, the look of a man who had watched the world burn. I was Fatima, Rashid said. I am the 16 million. I am the ones who lived, and we don't get to forget. He sat, picked up his phone, scrolled to a photograph, turned it to face them, a young woman, maybe 20, headscarf, bright smile, Baghdad University ID visible on a lanyard around her neck. My niece, Zainab, engineering student, loved math, wanted to build water treatment plants, Make clean water accessible to poor neighborhoods. Past tense. Wanted. March 19, 2006. Market bombing, sectarian violence, Shia versus Sunni. She was buying vegetables for dinner. Wrong place, wrong time, wrong sect maybe. Who knows? The bomb didn't check ID. He put the phone down. They found enough of her to fill a rice bag. We buried her in pieces, just like Fatima buried her family in pieces. Different empire, different conqueror. Same math. The room held its breath. So let me tell you about Fatima of Nishapur. Not the tactics, not the siege mathematics, the person. Because that's what you keep forgetting, Jack. These weren't numbers. They were Zainabs. 40 million Zainabs. 1220. Nishapur. Before it became a graveyard. Fatima was 14, daughter of a silk merchant named Rashid. Yes, same name as me. Perhaps my ancestor. Perhaps not. Does it matter? The Mongols made orphans of us all one way or another. Her father traded in fabric. Persian silk, Kashmiri wool, Chinese brocade. Nishapur sat on the Silk Road. Every caravan passed through. The bazaar smelled of cardamom and saffron. Tea houses on every corner. Poets reciting Rumi in the gardens. Fatima was engaged. Arranged marriage, yes, but she didn't mind. The boy Ahmed was kind. 17. His father traded gemstones. Ruby, turquoise, lapis lazuli blue as the sky. They would marry in spring. She was learning to cook his favorite dishes. He was building them a house near his father's shop. Spring never came. My mother's Baghdad looked exactly like Fatima's Nishapur, Rashid said. Same markets, same tea, same poetry, same naive belief that civilization meant safety. He stood, began to pace again. 1968. I was 12. My uncle took me to the book market on Mutanabi Street, bought me a copy of 1001 Nights. We drank tea, ate dates. He told me stories about jinn and flying carpets and heroes who always won. Pause. 14 years later, Saddam's secret police took him. Suspected opposition. They kept him 6 months. When they returned the body, he weighed 90 pounds. They'd pulled out his fingernails, broken his legs, starved him slowly. Rashid stopped pacing. I know what starvation looks like. It's not numbers on a page. It's watching someone you love become a skeleton. Eyes too big for their skull. Skin like paper. Body eating its own muscles to survive. Month 1, Barat, the Mongols arrived. 50,000 cavalry. They didn't attack immediately. They surrounded, cut every road, every path, every trail. Nishapur became an island in a sea of grass and soldiers. The governor refused to evacuate. We have walls. We have food. We can outlast them. Fatima's father wanted to run. We should flee south to Herat while we still can. But how do you abandon your home, your shop? Everything you've built, you convince yourself it will be fine. The walls are strong. The Mongols will get bored. Move on. They didn't move on. Month 2, the market started to empty. Wheat, always abundant, grew scarce. Price doubled, then tripled. Ahmad's family still had money. They could afford bread. But Fatima saw the poor families. Children crying, mothers with dried breasts unable to feed infants. The governor rationed food. Soldiers first, then wealthy families, then everyone else, then no one. Month 3, the rats disappeared, hunted to extinction, then the bus, then the dogs. Fatima's 8-year-old brother Khalil caught a dog. Stray, mangy. They butchered it in secret, boiled the meat until it was tender. It tasted like rope. They ate it anyway. A week later, there were no more dogs. My uncle Rashid said, his voice barely above whisper. In Abu Ghraib prison, they fed him once every 3 days. Bowl of rice, maybe. Sometimes just water. His body started to consume itself. First fat, then muscle, then organs. He looked at Jack. You know what happens when you starve, really starve. Your brain shrinks. You can't think straight, can't remember things. You become an animal, driven by one thought. Food, just food. Nothing else matters. Month 4, Khalil found grass growing between the courtyard stones. He pulled it up, ate it. His stomach couldn't digest it. Grass is cellulose. Humans can't break it down. It blocked his intestines. He screamed for 2 days, vomited green bile. Fatima's mother held him, rocked him, sang to him. He died in her arms. They couldn't bury him properly. The cemetery was outside the walls, controlled by Mongols. They wrapped him in silk, her father's best silk, buried him in the courtyard, under the pomegranate tree. Fatima didn't cry, couldn't cry. Tears require water, require salt, require a body that isn't eating itself. The walls were covered now. Bodies, people who jumped preferring quick death to slow starvation. The Mongols left them there. Lesson, warning. Ahmed came to see her. He looked like a ghost, skin stretched over bone, eyes hollow. "My father is dead," he said. "We ate leather, boiled it for 3 days. He choked on it, died choking." They held hands, 2 children, playing at being adults, planning a wedding that would never happen. "I love you," Ahmad said. 3 days later, he was dead too. The governor surrendered. April, after 4 months. The gates opened. Fatima's mother made a decision. The decision mothers make when there are no good choices left. A Mongol officer, tall, beard braided, he was selecting women, young women. Fatima's mother approached him. She traded herself, her body for bread. 1 loaf, that's what a human life was worth, 1 loaf of bread. She gave the bread to Fatima. She said, "When they're distracted, run south, find your aunt in Herat." Fatima never saw her mother again. She tried to run, made it 3 streets. Mongol patrol caught her. Hands grabbing, rough hands, soldier hands. She screamed, fought, bit one of them. He slapped her. Not hard, just enough to stop the screaming. An officer came, older, scarred face. He spoke to her in Persian. "You speak Turkic." She did. Her father taught her trade language. "You're a translator now," he said. "You'll live, behave." That's how Fatima survived, usefulness. She wasn't pretty enough to be a concubine for a Khan, wasn't skilled enough to be a craftsman. But she could translate. 31 years. That's how long she was property. Rashid sat, his hands trembled slightly. Old anger, old grief. 31 years, longer than most marriages. She was 14 when they took her, 45 when they freed her. And you know what the worst part is? He looked at both of them. After a while, you forget. You forget your mother's face, your brother's voice. You forget the taste of your favorite food, the smell of your home. You forget who you were before, because that girl died. The girl who entered Nishapur died during the siege. Someone else came out, someone who knew how to survive, how to be nothing, how to disappear inside yourself. Daniel spoke. The Kaddish, Jewish prayer for the dead. My grandfather taught it to me before the Soviets came. Yit Gadal Vyit Kadash Shemay Rabbah. Magnified and sanctified be his great name. We say it for the dead, but it also for the part of ourselves that dies when we witness horror. Yes, Rashid said, exactly that. He pulled out his phone again. Different photo, a woman, old, headscarf, weathered face, kind eyes. This is my mother. Took this photo 3 months before she died, 2018. She was 82, survived Saddam, survived the Iran-Iraq War, survived 2 American invasions, survived ISIS. He zoomed in on her eyes. You see that look, that's Fatima's look. That's the look of someone who survived when they shouldn't have, who lived through horror and came out the other side. But part of them, the part that could feel safe, that part died back there. In Nishapur, in Baghdad, in every city Genghis Khan touched. But the worst was yet to come in this history lesson. 1221, the city of Gurganj, Khwarezm capital, 500,000 people, walls 20 meters high, moat filled with water from the Amu Darya River. The Mongols besieged it, lost 40,000 men in 2 months, couldn't break through. So they changed tactics. 50,000 prisoners, men, women, children. From Bukhara, Samarkand, other conquered cities, the Mongols drove them forward, human shields. Rashid stood abruptly. His chair scraped against the floor, harsh, angry. This, he said, his voice shook. This is where I stop listening to your military genius bullshit, Jack. You know who else used human shields. He began listing, each name a hammer blow. Nazis, Warsaw Ghetto 1943, forced Jewish civilians to walk ahead of their tanks. Saddam Hussein, Gulf War 91, put prisoners of war on strategic targets, made us choose between bombing them or letting the target stand. ISIS, Mosul 2017, used civilians as shields during the final battle, put children on rooftops, made them stand next to ammunition dumps. His voice rose. And you know what we did? We bombed anyway, killed the children, found what he was looking for. 2000s. He pulled out his phone, scrolled, found what he was looking for. 2003, Fallujah. My nephew, Kareem, 12 years old. Insurgents grabbed him, forced him to carry ammunition. American Marines saw a kid with ammo. They shot him. 3 rounds, center mass, like you taught them, Jack, like you trained them. His voice broke. I identified the body. He still had his school ID in his pocket. Math homework. He got an A. Wanted to be an engineer, like Zainab. Rashid wiped his eyes. The Marines who shot him, they didn't know. How could they? They saw a threat. They neutralized it by the book. Proper procedure. And a 12-year-old boy died because someone used him as a shield. He turned to Jack. So tell me, is that military genius? Or is it only genius when Genghis Khan does it? Jack opened his mouth, closed it, opened it again. No, he said finally. That's a war crime. Then and now, there's no defending it. But you tried, Rashid said. For the last hour, you've been defending him. The tactics, the necessity, the math. I was wrong, Jack said. His voice was quiet. About that, about using civilians as weapons. That's a line, a bright red line. And anyone who crosses it, Khan or Marine or ISIS fighter, they're a war criminal. Rashid sat back down, the anger drained out of him, replaced by exhaustion, the exhaustion of carrying grief for decades. 1252, he said, Fatima was 46. Her Mongol master died. In their law, when a master dies without heirs, slaves can be freed. She was freed. Giovanni the historian found her in Tabriz, interviewed her for his chronicle. He asked one question. Can you forgive them? Fatima's answer, recorded in Persian, translated 1,000 times. Forgive, no. Understand why they did it, perhaps. They were soldiers following orders. They believed they were building something. An empire. Peace through conquest. The Pax Mongolica. She paused in the account. But forget never. I will never forget. My brother eating grass. My mother selling herself for bread. Ahmed dying of starvation 3 days before rescue. I will carry those memories until I die, and I will tell them to my children, and they will tell theirs, so that Nishapur is never forgotten, so that my family is never forgotten. Rashid looked at the 2 men. She lived another 12 years, died in 1254, 48 years old. She taught children, Persian and Turkic, reading and writing. She preserved culture, preserved memory. He picked up his tea, cold now. You asked me earlier, Daniel, how she survived without going crazy. She didn't survive, not really. The girl who loved Ahmad, who planned a spring wedding, who believed in poetry and pomegranate trees, that girl died in the siege.